Step 1. Gently slice the tape and take out the laser tube and its foam support. Check the laser tube for any of the following: any fall off of the front and rear water nozzles, water jacket, and silicon tube, any fall off or damage to the electrode pins and electrode plate, any damage of front and rear water nozzles, and any damage to the return air duct, aqueduct, or discharge tube inside the laser tube. Please use your finger to determine if the welding root of the electrode pins is loose. Do not pull hard or drag other than the welding root, as that runs the risk of pulling it off. Step 2. After the appearance inspection, remove the foam support. Do not push the foam to the end of the laser tube, as it may loosen or damage the electrode pins. The correct procedure is pulling open the neat cut on the foam support with both hands, and then gently removes it downward. Step 1. Place the laser tube gently on the machine bracket. Note, the label says bracket position on the laser tube needs to face the machine bracket. The welding wires, water nozzles, tube ends, and electrode pins cannot come into contact with the machine. Step 2. Determine that the laser tube is correctly placed on both ends. Step 1. Use only silicon tubes with an inner diameter of 6 to 7 millimeters and tube thickness of 1.5 to 2 millimeters. Connect the water chiller outlet to the nozzle on the water jacket labeled as water inlet. Hold the water jacket still with one hand and connect the nozzle to the wet silicone tube to prevent the nozzle or water jacket from becoming damaged or deformed. The silicone tube should be placed completely flush against the ends of the nozzle to prevent falling or leaking. Step 1. Straighten out the power wires on both ends of the laser tube. Step 2. Place two black heat shrink tubes on the power wire at the laser output end, starting first with the thicker shrink tube, and then following with the thinner. Step 3. Solder weld the black power wire at the laser output end to the black power wire at the machine low voltage end. Step 4. Move the thinner heat shrink tube to the joint and use the heat gun to wrap the joint connection. Do the same things to the thicker heat shrink tube and overlap the wrap outside the joint connection. Step 5. Place 6 red heat shrink tubes on the power wire at the high voltage reflecting mirror end, starting with the thicker shrink tube and then following with the thinner ones. Step 6. Connect the red power wire at the laser tube end, the high voltage end with reflecting mirror, with the red power wire at machine high voltage end using solder welding. Step 7. Move the thinnest heat shrink tube to the joint point and blow it with the heat gun. Then wrap it around the joint. Do the same to the remaining 5 heat shrink tubes and overlap each joint connection layer by layer. Step 1. Switch on the water chiller. Water will flow from the outlet to the inlet at the laser tube's high voltage end. Water will run through and outflow from the water outlet on the laser outlet, then flow back to the water chiller inlet. Note, please check the water flow direction. If the direction is not correct, chilling water is not able to fill the water tube and leads to an inefficient cooling result or even runs the risk of explosion. Step 2. After water fills the water tube, check for any large bubbles. If observing any bubbles with diameter exceeding 2 centimeters, users need to lift the laser output end by approximately 3 to 5 centimeters and allow the bubbles to flow out with the water. Make sure no big bubbles remain, as they will result in inefficient cooling or risk of tube explosion. If the bubbles remain after 30 seconds, determine if the water chiller has a water shortage or leakage problem. Step 1. Peel off the red "Please tear the label before use" label and attach it to the blank space. Step 2. Turn the laser tube clockwise and make sure the label "This side up" faces up. Step 3. Turn the power on and ensure the fan is running. If power supply levels are normal, but the cooling fan is not, please change the power supply. Step 4. Click and release the test button on the power supply unit and determine whether or not the laser discharge tube is a normal pink. Listen to the power supply unit's noise levels. If the laser discharge tube is purple, white, or no color, please contact us for further instruction. Step 5. Fasten the laser tube on the machine brackets. Once this is complete, installation